The late afternoon sun, a drowsy eye in the hazy sky, cast long, spindly shadows across 10-year-old Finn's front lawn. He was sprawled on the porch, sketching in his worn notebook, a half-eaten apple forgotten beside him. The neighborhood was quiet, the only sounds the gentle rustle of leaves in the old oak tree and the distant hum of a lawnmower. Suddenly, a flicker of movement, a flash of iridescent blue at the edge of his vision, caught Finn's attention. He looked up, his pencil hovering over the page. There, at the foot of his driveway, stood a creature unlike anything he had ever seen or even imagined. It was small, no bigger than a large dog, with shimmering scales that shifted between shades of emerald and sapphire. Two delicate, dragonfly-like wings, currently drooping and torn, sprouted from its back. A pair of large obsidian eyes, filled with a mixture of fear and exhaustion, blinked up at Finn. The creature let out a soft, chirping sound, a whimper of distress that tugged at Finn's heart. Tried to stand, but its slender legs, tipped with tiny silver claws, buckled beneath it. This creature is Flitter, a young Lumiflora, a being of pure light and energy, who had wandered too far from its home in the Lumina Glades. Cautiously, Finn approached the creature. Flinched, its scales rippling with fear. "Hey there," Finn whispered, his voice softer than he intended. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." He offered the creature the remains of his apple, holding it out tentatively. Creature sniffed it, then, with delicate movements, took a small bite. "You must be lost, huh?" Finn mused, his gaze drawn to the creature's tattered wings. He spoke in a gentle, soothing tone. The creature chirped again, a sound that seemed to convey a profound sadness, making Finn feel he can understand that it is indeed very lost and its family misses him. "Don't worry," Finn said, a sudden wave of determination washing over him. "I'll help you. I'll help you get home." He spoke with a newfound confidence that surprised even himself. That day, Finn learned from Flitter that his home was deep within the Whisperwood, a vast, ancient forest bordering his town. Whisperwood was a place of whispered legends and cautionary tales, a realm said to be teeming with strange, often hostile creatures. Yet, seeing Flitter's sorrow, his huge, dark eyes filled with a desperate plea, Finn knew he couldn't turn away. Early next morning, the sun's rays hadn't yet sliced through their curtains. After convincing his disbelieving parents that he was visiting a friend, Finn set out with Flitter. The little Lumiflora, unable to fly, nestled in a wicker basket lined with soft blankets in Finn's bicycle. The forest's edge was cool and damp, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. "We're here," Finn announced, a hint of trepidation in his steady voice as he paused at the forest's edge. Flitter gave a weak chirp, sounding nervous than ever. The trees here were tall and imposing, their branches interwoven, forming a dense canopy that allowed only slivers of sunlight to penetrate. Their journey was fraught with peril. Deep in the heart of the forest, a pack of Shadowolves, their fur as dark as midnight and their eyes glowing with a malevolent yellow light, emerged from the shadows. "Run, Finn!" Flitter chirped, his voice a high-pitched squeak of terror. Finn didn't need telling twice and started pedaling his bicycle as fast as he could manage on the overgrown forest path. He cycled with a frantic energy, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. The wolves, swift and agile, were gaining on them very quickly. "Faster," Flitter urged, his voice tight with fear. Finn, his legs burning and his lungs aching, pushed harder. He could hear the wolves' ragged breathing, feel their hot breath on his neck. It was Flitter who saved them. Remembering a trick his mother had taught him, He gathered his remaining energy and emitted a blinding flash of light, momentarily disorienting the wolves and allowing Finn to gain a precious few seconds. Through what felt like an eternity, they finally lost the wolves, emerging into a clearing, breathless and shaken. That was close, Finn gasped, his chest heaving, realizing how frightened he was. Flitter, trembling in the basket, chirped weakly in agreement, his usual bright sheen dimmed with fear. Finn, trying to reassure his companion, gently stroked Flitter's head, murmuring, "We're okay now, we're safe." Flitter's scales glowed dimly, a small sign of comfort. "We'll be fine," Finn told him, trying to sound braver than he felt. Their next challenge came in the form of a rickety rope bridge spanning a deep chasm. The far end stood 3 hulking figures trolls, their skin like granite and their eyes like glowing embers. "Halt!" one of them boomed, his voice a rumbling growl that echoed across the ravine. "To cross, you must answer our riddle." "A riddle?" Finn asked, his voice uncertain. He was never good at riddles, his mind racing, trying to remember any riddles he had ever heard. Troll chuckled, a deep guttural sound. "What has an eye but cannot see?" he bellowed. Flitter, despite his fear, nudged Finn's hand with his head, chirping softly. As if understanding, a thought suddenly struck Finn, remembering his grandmother's sewing kit. "A needle!" he exclaimed, his voice a mix of surprise and relief. Trolls, taken aback, grumbled amongst themselves. He got it," one muttered, sounding disappointed. "Let them pass," another conceded grudgingly. With a creak and a groan, they lowered a makeshift drawbridge, allowing Finn to carefully push his bicycle across the chasm, the bridge swaying precariously with each step. He muttered in a reassuring tone, "Easy does it, Flitter, we're almost there." Flitter merely blinked, his large eyes wide with apprehension. The final obstacle was the most daunting, a monstrous, spider-like creature known as the Gloomweaver, its 8 eyes gleaming hungrily, its massive fangs dripping with venom. Blocked the entrance to a hidden glade, the gateway to the Lumina Glades. "This is it," Flitter whispered, his voice barely audible. "My home is just beyond." He sounded both hopeful and terrified at the same time. Finn, despite his own fear, felt a surge of protectiveness for his small companion. He remembered a story his grandfather used to tell him about a brave knight who used a mirror to defeat a similar beast. "I have an idea," Finn said, his voice surprisingly steady. He rummaged through his backpack and pulled out a small, compact mirror his mother used. He positioned himself between Flitter and the Gloomweaver, his hands shaking slightly. With a trembling hand, he held up small mirror. He knew his plan was risky, relying on a story he wasn't even sure was true. "Flitter, when I say now, shine as bright as you can," Finn whispered urgently, his heart pounding in his chest. The Gloomweaver lunged, its massive form casting an ominous shadow. "Now!" Finn shouted, his voice barely above a whisper. Flitter, gathering all his strength, emitted a dazzling beam of light. Finn angled the mirror, reflecting the light directly into the Gloomweaver's eyes. Creature recoiled, screeching in pain, its multiple eyes overwhelmed by the sudden brightness. It thrashed wildly, its movements becoming increasingly erratic and disoriented, and with a final agonizing shriek, the creature dissolved into a cloud of dark smoke, leaving behind only a faint, acrid smell. "We did it, Flitter," Finn cried, his voice filled with relief and a sense of accomplishment he had never felt before. He felt like a hero in one of his adventure books, a wide grin spreading across his face. Beyond the now empty space where the Gloomweaver had stood, lay a scene of breathtaking beauty. The Lumina Glades was a haven of light and color. Luminous flowers in every hue imaginable carpeted the ground, their petals unfurling to reveal hearts of pure, shimmering light. Trees with leaves of spun silver reached towards a sky that shimmered with an ethereal, opalescent glow. And there, flitting amidst the radiant flora, were other Lumiflora, their scales flashing like 1,000 tiny rainbows. Chorus of joyful chirps filled the air as Flitter's family rushed to greet him. They nuzzled him, their scales glowing with an intensity that brought tears to Finn's eyes. Flitter, surrounded by his loved ones, turned back to Finn, his obsidian eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Finn," he chirped, his voice filled with an emotion that needed no translation. "You saved me. You brought me home." His tone was imbued with deepest gratitude, a sentiment that echoed in Finn's heart. Finn felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling of fulfillment he had never experienced before. He knew he would never forget Flitter, the little creature who had led him on an extraordinary adventure and taught him the true meaning of bravery, kindness, and friendship. "You're welcome, Flitter," Finn replied, his voice thick with emotion. "Take care of yourself." He felt a pang of sadness at their parting but knew that Flitter was where he belonged. As Finn turned to leave, making his way to the edge of the forest, Flitter's mother, a creature of unparalleled beauty, her scales shimmering with all the colors of a sunrise, approached him. She chirped softly, and Flitter translated, "She says you're always welcome in the Lumina Glades, Finn. You have a true heart. She says you are a true friend." Finn smiled, his heart swelling with a mixture of joy and gratitude. "Tell her thank you. I will never forget my time here." The journey back home felt shorter, lighter. Finn carried with him not just the memory of the adventure, but also the quiet confidence that came from facing his fears and doing what was right. He had discovered a strength within himself he never knew he possessed, a strength born not of might but of compassion and determination. And as he finally reached his house, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, he knew that a part of him would always remain in the Whisperwood, with the brave little Lumiflora who had shown him that even the smallest creature can make the biggest difference. The experience had changed him, had enriched his life in ways he was only beginning to understand. Now Finn knew that true friendship knows no boundaries, not even those between different worlds. He drifted to sleep with a peaceful smile on his face, dreaming of shimmering lights and courageous hearts,